You were talking about when you were young, parents playing albums, people had guitars and were jamming. Do you remember the first time you picked up a guitar yourself? The start of you as an actual musician instead of just a lover of music.
I think it was around that 10 years old mark. Uh, I got uh, I got a guitar. It was an Eddie Van Halen clone. Um, I don't even know what the brand was, but I tried to play it, and I didn't get it. Didn't really latch on for me to start playing guitar until I used my own money. I think I was 15 years old. I used my own money to buy a guitar, an acoustic, a little Yamaha parlor guitar, and I started playing and learning, folk songs and country songs, just three chords and the truth, and that's really what developed and pushed me into. Once I could start playing and singing the songs, then I realized, okay, now I can perform them, and then I started playing and singing in front of people and doing more of that.
There's a congregation video on YouTube that is you in partnership with Yamaha, and you share a story where you bought that guitar, and then at some point you ended up selling it, and then you saw it again later on. Can you share that story for our listeners?
Yeah, I don't know why I sold. Well, I mean, why do people
You
do
you
stupid
need money
things?
when
I
you're
mean,
young, you know? You got
exactly.
a
I
lack of
sold,
cash flow when you're young.
and I was stupid, Joel. I was just stupid.
God.
Now I sold that guitar, and years later, I was taking my kids to a concert, and at our local church, and this lady came up, and she had that guitar, and and she brought it and got me to sign it for her. But I asked her to sell it to me, and she wouldn't sell it back to me.
So
But
she somehow knew that that was your guitar, or you
she
are the
knew
one
that.
that recognized it?
No, she reached out to me prior to the concert and asked if I would be there. But yeah, she knew that that was my guitar. I think I sold it to her, a relative of hers. She ended up with it, and but no, she wouldn't part with it. But I'd sure like to get my hands on it again. It was a beautiful little parlor guitar, and um, like I said, I cut my teeth on that thing, and from there moved up to a little acoustic electric and started playing. At 16, I started playing in a local band and in my area, and we started. I kind of jumped. I didn't do the garage band thing with my buddies. I didn't really know anybody in my hometown. Like, our town was small. It's like 4,500 people, and there wasn't a whole lot of bands, and I wouldn't really fit into a certain the music clique at the time and what was going on in our town. So
And
I ended up,
this is in Alberta, right? This is before the
yeah,
move to Nashville.
yeah. This is in Bonnyville. I was like, I grew up in this small town, and so I did a lot of playing on my own. I would just play acoustic guitar and stuff, and then I got wrapped up with these guys from a town over in St. Paul, who were all older. They were like in their 30s, and they had a band called the Prairie Ramblers, and they like
That's a
actually
good name.
played.
That's a solid
Yeah, it
name.
was solid name, the Prairie Ramblers, and I became the singer of the Prairie Ramblers at 16 years old, and we were like playing hall dances and powwows and weddings and like professional gigs right off the bat. I was making money. I'm making a couple $100 to go and you know play this wedding somewhere in Elk Point or whatever in our little area, and I would just get in my dad's truck and drive to the gig and play. And that's kind of where I started to develop my chops and cut my teeth as a musician.
And before joining that band, before deciding that you'd like to become a professional musician, was there anything as a kid that you wanted to be when you grew up? I keep, I keep just like Kiss is the thing that happens with every band. A lot of people wanted to be firefighters when they grew up. Anything. I wanted to be a dump truck, not a dump truck driver, but an actual dump truck. So just to show you how low the bar is here for what you want to be as a kid. Anything pop in
uh,
that you wanted to be before a
uh,
musician?
no, I was really into. I wanted to be an archaeologist because I loved Indiana Jones. but I also loved Star Wars. And when I got older, I looked back on it and I thought, it wasn't that I wanted to be an archaeologist or I wanted to be uh, really I wanted to be Han Solo. I just wanted to be a pirate.
Mhm.
I want to be Indiana Jones and Han Solo together. And here I am, 30 years later. I'm kind of that now.
That's awesome.
With a guitar in my hand. So it all came the plan all came together.
And from say 16 until the time that you found success with the Road Hammers, were there any jobs that you had, just regular jobs? So our musician listeners who are still working regular jobs trying to make it in the music industry know that everybody kind of had to pave their way. Any memorable jobs that you had?
Oh yeah, man, I had all kinds of jobs. I worked when I was a kid. I worked lots of different jobs, driving delivery truck. I sold coffee and snacks at a bingo hall, and just walking up and down the aisles. All the old ladies would smoke and hiss at you, coffee. Yeah, everyone had to whisper. And I you name it, I did it. I actually even got. We were playing in South Dakota one time, and we didn't have two dimes to rub together. And one of the other local bars, one of the owners came in and asked me if I wanted to strip at their club during the day. So like, you can make twice the money. You can strip during the day,
Hey, it's
and
a
then you
good
can play
payday.
at night. I politely declined to strip, but mostly because I can't dance. But
Well,
but
yeah,
yeah, I've had all
those
kinds of
dancers
jobs.
aren't really judged on their dancing skills, but yeah, there's
I,
still
I,
hope.
yeah, exactly. At one point, in the midst of the Roadhammers career, we broke up for a short period of time, and I ended up. I went to work in the oil field for a year, and that was a humbling experience because that is hard work. Those guys work their asses off out there, and I was working for a friend of mine, grinding pipe and being a welder's helper, and it, like I said, it keeps things in perspective when you have a hard day in the music business. Is not really a hard day.
A hard day is like a bad YouTube comment or something.
Right? Yeah.
Well, it can get worse than that, but that's just an example. Yeah,
But
man.
yeah, no, I've had tons of jobs. I grew up on the farm, so that's one thing that I learned early on was that and what gets a job done is hard work. And I look at I equate music, the music business, to farming, to making fence. I always use that analogy. It's like when you get up I'm a self starter, so I get up and I go out and I'm going to make fence today. I'm going to pound posts, and at the end of the day, I can look back and say, "Oh, look at all that fence that I made. That's what I've done for the day," and that's what I want to feel that accomplishment when I'm doing music. So whether it's if I'm out on the road or if I'm at home, I'm up and writing and scheduling writing appointments and making sure that I'm making fence every day, because that's the only way that you're going to accomplish anything and move forward. Is you got to be grinding.
And how early on did you know that you had a skill, something of value to offer that people might pay for, and that this is actually something you could do as a career? Is it back at 16 when you became the singer of a band and you're starting to make money, or was it later than that?
I think that was kind of the inception of it was when I was 16 and playing in that band. But I think really when I went to college and studied music, I left home at 17 and I graduated and went and studied music for 2 years at RDC College in Red Deer, Alberta. And I think that's where it really kind of came to this idea. Music business was my minor, and that understanding of, oh, this is an actual industry that I could make a living at and have a career, and this is how to do it, and all these different kind of puzzle pieces all kind of came together. And I actually almost flunked out of college, because by our second year of college I had started a new band called the Moonshine Bandits. We were terrible, but
Man, how do
we
you guys have such good names? Is this an Alberta thing? Only
I
good
don't
band
know.
names?
I always thought I sucked at naming bands, but uh, the Moonshine Bandits started playing, and we got so busy that by the end of my second year, I was missing so much class because we were always out on the road. But I managed to graduate, and that band, we just went on for another year, about after college, just playing. We started in the nightclubs back then in the late '90s. There was a real club scene where bands would play 6 nights a week. You'd roll into a town, and from Monday to Saturday, you're playing 4 or 5 sets a night. You play from 9 o'clock at night till 1 in the morning,
Hmm.
and do that every single night. So you can't help but get good.
Yeah, musicians early on deal with a lot of resistance, a lot of adversity. A lot of times it's family and friends that are telling you, it's not realistic to pursue a career in music, that you got to get that education, got to get that good job, got to play it safe. Did you deal with that resistance? And if so, how were you able to keep your eyes on the prize and push through that?
I was really blessed that I never did deal with that resistance. It was the exact opposite in my household growing up. My parents were, you know, uh, an interesting mix of rock and roll hippies and you know small town farm family. And they had this philosophy that I taught to my kids. Is that do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And that's what they always pushed on me, was that if that's what you love, then go at it and do it and make a living at it. Make your living, make your life out of it. And that's what I did. And they always supported me. And when after I graduated college, hey, here we're gonna they helped me get a loan for to buy a sound system and a tour van. So and I in turn rented to the band that I was touring with. And that's how I started kind of in the music business. I had a PA and lights and a truck, and we drove from town to town playing shows.
Man, all the musician listeners that we have, I'm sure they're wishing their parents were as supportive as you were, because not all of them are. I mean, you could always turn around and say to your family, like, you guys created this, playing all that music and jamming and all that. It's they kind of, planted the seed for you.
Yeah, and I think sometimes my mom regrets it, encouraging me so much. But it, I'm happy. I love what I do, and I'm very blessed to be able to do it. And it's been a hell of an adventure. I've lived the lives of 10 men. Some of the crazy stuff I've seen, and the places that I've been. It's been a heck of an adventure.
Do your kids look at you as a rock star, or are you just some schmuck that brings home the bacon?
Oh, I'm just dad.
Just
Uh, they come to the shows and stuff occasionally, but I think they're mostly unimpressed. And any time when they were growing up, you know, especially because we moved. I lived in Tennessee for about 10 years, and then we moved back to our small town of Bonnyville, and there was a lot of that kind of, oh, your dad's this or your dad's that, and I've always just impressed on them that I'm just a guy who does what I love for a living, and that's you can have that too. Do what you love. If being a dump truck is what you really love, then go and be it.
But be
Because
the
man, life,
best dump truck that you can be.
hell yeah. Like I would just say that, you spend 75% of your life working. So why the fuck would you want to do something that you hate? Do something at least that you enjoy doing. You might not be the richest, or you might not be the whatever with it, but you'll enjoy your life. And that is, if you can do that, man, you're winning.
For the first few years after you picked up that guitar, did you have some guitar heroes? Did you have some major guitar influences that you looked up to?
Um, yeah, when I really, I don't know about when I first picked up the guitar, because I, I, I just didn't understand it. I still don't understand it. The guitar just pisses me off. Not everyone can be Ian Thornley from Big Wreck. It's it's a difficult instrument, but it when I first picked it up, I just want I realized very quickly that I wanted to say things. I was a lover of or am I am a lover of songs and stories. I love hearing people's stories. I love telling stories, and I always have been a sucker for a great song. If you can put an awesome guitar solo in with it, even better. But to me, it always comes down to that song and really hitting somebody right there, right in the feels.
Yeah, you guys just played with Big Wreck, right? There was a show recently.
Yeah, absolutely. I did a couple shows with Ian and the boys in Alberta, in Red Deer and in Lethbridge at the NMAX Arena, and it was fantastic. And you want to go to school on how to play guitar, listen to those guys.
Yeah.
Incredible musicians, all of them.
Yeah, I just had 2 episodes ago, I had Sekou, their drummer, and
Yeah, what a great guy,
what a
and man,
monster drummer. Yeah.
yeah, terrifyingly good. They all are, and it was they were so sweet to us out on the road, and um, it's great to watch. But getting back to your question though, when I really started digging into playing lead guitar, I I gravitated towards bands that had a real that organic thing. I love the Black Crows. I loved Warren Haynes. Still do. If I had one guitar player that I wanted to be growing when I grow up, it's Warren Haynes from Government Mule and the Allman Brothers. But loved Big Sugar, Gordy Johnson, all that kind of more blues based rock and roll stuff. I really love and still do.
Well, I have a quote here. I have some kind words from someone that fits that bill. Guitar driven, bluesy. This is from Sean Varro of Widemouth Mason. This is what he has to say about Clayton Bellamy. He says Clayton is a real deal rocker and roller with a lot of soul. He throws his whole being into it. He ain't playing around. That's from Sean.
Oh man, Shawn is amazing. Another uh, Canadian treasure. He is a world class guitar player. Like nobody can touch him as far as playing and singing. He's incredible, and it that means the world to me. Hearing that, when you're coming up and these other bands that you look up to and you think, wow, that's crazy to even just to see those bands, but to meet them and then become friends and stuff is really one of my favorite parts of this gig. And Shawn and I have done plenty lots of shows together and hung out and his band is for sure up on my one of my favorites. I remember the first time I saw them, we were in Yorkton, Saskatchewan, uh, playing at the Yorkton Hotel, which is like the biggest dirtbag hotel you can imagine. But they were on TV doing this local thing before their first album blew up, and it was. I remember watching it, going, "This is incredible." And a short time after, they were that first album was huge. It was the biggest thing going.
So I just spent 10 days at Blues Fest in Ottawa, so one of Canada's biggest festivals. And I had just talked to Shawn and I mentioned that I don't know, there's 100 bands that played over 10 days, that the top 5 performances I had, Rage Against the Machine and Alanis Morissette. Nathaniel Radcliffe was insane. He was really good. I had the Tea Party were amazing. And then I had Widemouth Mason's performance up there in my top 5 of the whole festival. And he said, wow, that's good company. The 5 artists that I named who shredded. So anyways, I just saw them live and I was right up front on the barrier, and those guys can bring the thunder.